Alzheimer's disease. It's a name we all know, a condition that, let's be honest, looms large in our minds. We often think of it as just forgetting things, but it is so, so much more than that. So today, let's pull back the curtain and really get into the complex reality of what Alzheimer's is. You know that feeling, right? That moment of panic when you can't find your keys, or when a name is right there on the tip of your tongue but just won't come out. We've all been there. But there's a huge difference between those everyday little memory glitches and the kind of deep, progressive changes that come with Alzheimer's. So where is that line? Let's start there.
So yeah, what is the difference? Well, let's break it down. Forgetting where you parked your car at the mall today, that's pretty common. But forgetting how to drive the car itself, that's a completely different level. You know, normal aging might be struggling to find the right word every once in a while. Alzheimer's is not being able to follow a conversation at all because the words just aren't there anymore. We're talking about a steady, relentless decline of brain function.
To put a fine point on it, Alzheimer's is a specific disease. I want you to imagine the brain as this incredibly complex, vibrant city, just humming with activity. Well, in Alzheimer's, that city starts to break down from the inside out. Communication lines start to fail, the residents, our neurons, get sick and eventually die, and the whole infrastructure just collapses piece by piece. So what in the world is causing this catastrophic breakdown? To get that, we have to zoom in, way in, to the microscopic level. You know, it was over 100 years ago that a doctor, Alois Alzheimer, first looked inside the brain of his patient and spotted two major problems. And believe it or not, those two culprits are still at the heart of what we know today. The first domino to fall is what we call the amyloid cascade. It all kicks off with this sticky little protein fragment, amyloid beta. It starts building up, clumping together into these toxic little clusters. Over time, these clusters grow into these huge hardened plaques. It's literally like toxic garbage piling up in the city, just clogging all the streets between the brain cells. Now, if those amyloid plaques are the garbage outside the brain cells, our second culprit causes total chaos inside. There's this other protein called tau, and tau has a really important job. It's supposed to be like the railway ties that keep a neuron's internal transport system stable. But in Alzheimer's, tau protein basically falls apart and it clumps together into these things we call tangles. So you've got these two things happening at once. You've got plaques, this sticky mess building up in the spaces between the neurons, gumming up the works from the outside. And then you have tangles, the complete collapse of the transport system inside each neuron, which eventually kills the cell from within. It is a truly devastating 1-2 punch. Okay, so with all of that biological chaos going on in the background, the disease begins its slow, relentless march, completely changing a person's life over years. So now, let's zoom back out from the microscopic world and look at the human experience. What does this journey actually look like for a person? Now, this journey is different for everyone, but it does tend to follow a general path. It often starts out as mild cognitive impairment, memory lapses that are noticeable but don't totally upend daily life. From there, it can move into the moderate stage, and this is where you see more severe memory loss, confusion, even personality changes, and people start needing a lot more support. And in the final, severe stage, individuals can lose the ability to communicate and become completely dependent on others for absolutely everything. And this is not some rare disease. The scale of this is just staggering. Right now, an estimated 55 million people are living with dementia worldwide, and Alzheimer's is the #1 cause. But look at this projection. That number is on track to nearly triple by 2050. This is a massive, massive global health crisis. And the impact? Well, it goes far beyond the person with the diagnosis. Take a look at this number. $18 billion. That's the estimated number of hours of unpaid care that family and friends provide for people with Alzheimer's in the US alone, every single year. I mean, let's just try to wrap our heads around that number for a second. That's a hidden workforce of millions of people, often running on empty, with very little support, who form the absolute backbone of care. So this isn't just a health crisis. It's a huge social and economic crisis too, one that's built on the love and dedication of caregivers. Okay, I know. After hearing those numbers, it can feel pretty overwhelming, right? But this is where the story pivots, because the conversation around Alzheimer's is really starting to change. It's becoming one of empowerment, of hope, and of action. There's more and more evidence that we can actually fight back. And this one statistic is a huge reason for that hope. A major report estimated that by tackling key risk factors in our lives, we could potentially prevent or delay up to 40% of dementia cases. 40%. That is an incredible number. It means we have way more control than we ever thought. So, what are these things we can do? Well, it's probably stuff you've heard before. Getting regular exercise, eating a healthy diet, making sure you get good sleep, and, this is a big one, staying socially and mentally active. These aren't just fluffy wellness tips. These are powerful ways to build up what scientists call our cognitive reserve. Basically, the brain's ability to take a punch and keep on ticking. And a huge piece of this puzzle is our heart health. Things like your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar. Managing these isn't just for your heart. It's absolutely critical for your brain. Why? Because problems like high blood pressure in midlife are major risk factors for dementia down the road. The simple truth is, a healthy circulatory system means a healthier brain. And beyond lifestyle changes, we are for the first time entering a whole new era of treatment. We now have a class of drugs that can actually modify the disease. They directly target and remove those amyloid plaques we talked about from the brain. Now, it's not a cure, but it has been shown to modestly slow the disease's progression in the early stages, and that is a monumental step forward. Which really brings us to this final, powerful idea. For a long time, we thought Alzheimer's was just about the genetic cards you were dealt, purely a matter of fate, but that view is changing. The evidence is building that even if our genes load the gun, our lifestyle choices, how we manage our health, stay active, and use our minds, might just be what keeps that safety switch firmly on.